Right.
We're on Ayin Hey Amid Aleph, about 20 lines down. For Amar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Asir HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasis Sukkah Tzadikim Ma'irish Shalav Yasin. The Baruch Shalom is going to make sukkahs for the tzaddikim, Lasid Lavai, after Mashiach comes, from the skin of the Leviathan. Shnemar, Ismale Besukas Ayrei. The Baruch Shalom says, can you make sukkahs out of the Ayrei? Zacha Eisen Le Sukkah. The Baruch Shalom says, and the word the din is that people who are Grace Tzaddikim, they're going to get a sukkah. Loi Zacha Eisen Le Tzeltzel. Those who are not so Zaycha are going to get just a shade. Shnemer Betzaltzel Dagim Roishay. And over his head will be a shade. But from the skin of the fish will be a shade. Zacha Eisen Le Tzaltzel, and then there's even a lower level than that. Some people who are at that level get this shade. The next level is people will get a necklace that is made out of the skin of the Leviathan. And necklaces for your throat. If there's Zeicha, they get this necklace. If they don't get that, the next level down is an amulet. Shenema Batikshanu Linarisecha, and they tied it for your children. Bashar and the rest of the skin of Yasin, Parsa Hakadosh Baruch Hu Chomesh Yushalayim. He's going to spread it out on the walls of Yushalayim. V'zivay mavik misayfay levad sayfay, and the radiance from the skin of the Leviathan will shine from one end of the world to the other. Shnema v'holchu goyim le'recha. Nations will go with your light, Malachim l'noiga zarchecha, and the kings will go from the radiance of your shining. The pasuk continues, "V'samti kad shimsheisecha." Since we're talking about what was placed on the walls of Yerushalayim, the pasuk continues talking about Yerushalayim. The Mashal says he's going to make a kad for the walls. Amram Shmuel Marach, many pligi trei malachi begrikia, Gabriel and Michal. So machlekes between Gabriel and Michal, va'amrla trei amaroi b'marava. And some say it wasn't machlekes between the malachim, but rather it was a machlekes between the Amoraim, two Amoraim. Uman inun, who are they? Yehuda v'Chizkiya b'nei Reb Chia. I don't remember ever hearing about a machlekes between malachim, right? One would have thought that it's not possible to have a machlekes. They're created for a specific cause to do something, and they have perfect knowledge. And in any case, one said that these walls, this kadkad, was made out of the precious stone shayim, and one said it was yashpa. So Banisham said it should be like both. So kad is an abbreviation of kedinu kedin. So the Banisham made the walls out of both of these things, both out of shayim and out of yashpa. And your gates I will make out of avonim. The Mesham is going to bring precious jewels that are and stones that are 30 amas by 30 amas, massive stones of jewels. And he'll cut out from them opening of 10 by 20. Mamidim b'shar Yushalayim will place them in the gates of Yushalayim. Ligul of Isa Talmud. A certain Talmud who was a mechutzif, he started to mock this. Hashda k'biyasa the tzitzla meshtachina. You can't find even the British crown jewels. You know they get from India. They have like some 750 carat diamond. They can't even find like the biggest diamond we have, or the biggest precious stone we see is like the size of the egg of a small bird. You can't even find that big. You're going to find a precious stone so large. This Talmud who was mocking went out on a boat. And he went so far, he saw the Malachi Yasharis, the Yasui Kaminsri. Maybe it was on one of those waves that picked him up very high. He saw the Malachi Yasharis, the Kaminsri, Avanim Taibis, and Magolius, that they were shaping these precious stones. Shem Lamed Alama, that was 30 Amos by 30 Amos. And they made a hole in it that was 10 by 20. Amalu Hani Laman. He asked them, "What is this for?" Amalei the Malachim told his Talmud the Bershom was going to place it in the gates of Yerushalayim. Also, he returned to Rav Yochanan. Amalei Droish Rebbe. He said, "Please, Rebbe, darshan more. L'chon no lidrosh. It's good. Your drushes are good. Kasher mata kain risi, because I doubted what you had said, and I saw that it was true. Amalei Reika." Rabbi Yochanan said back to him, "You empty one. If you wouldn't have seen it, you wouldn't believe." Right? This is the famous word that they say about Hasidic Shemaisis. If you believe all of them, you're a fool. If you don't believe any of them, you're a kaifer. This person was someone who didn't believe anything he couldn't see with his own eyes. You're someone who mocks the Divrei Chacham. He placed his eyes on him, he looked at him, and he became this Talmud was reduced to a pile of bones. The Gemara asks. So after we just said that this Talmud was reduced to a pile of bones, the Gemara demonstrates it doesn't mean you can't question. You have to question properly. You can't say because I never saw it, it's not true. You could still ask a kashra. The Bereshom says that I'm going to stand you up. And Remeir, what does that mean? This is talking about La'asid Lavai after the coming of Mashiach. Remeir, I'm a Masayim Amma. When people at that time, it's in the future times, La'asid Lavai, they're going to be 200 Amas tall. Double the height of Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon was 100 Amas, we're going to be 200 Amas. Yehuda, I'm a Meya Amma. Yehuda says, no, it wasn't 200, it was 100 Amma. Kineged Heichel Uksalav. Which is the height of the Heichel together with its extra walls, meaning the Heichel had a second story on top of it. It all added up to 100 Amos. Our sons will be like trees that are nurtured and taken care of, from when they're young. And our daughters are like the cornerstones that are cut out in the shape of the Heichel. But we see from here that so that's where we see that the people lost in love are going to be 100 amas high. So Gemara asks, how could it be that the entrance was only 10 amas by 20 amas? If people are 100 amas high, it's going to be very difficult for them to enter into such a short doorway. So he says, no, I wasn't saying that's going to be the doorway. These are just the windows that are used to bring in air into the Beis HaMikdash. I would ask, though, I think the Mikdash and the Heichel are going to be the same size as it always was. So if it's only 100 amas high, how could you say that the people are going to be 200 amas? It seems like they wouldn't be able to fit into the Beis HaMikdash. Baruch is going to make 7 canopies for every tzaddik lasud lavish. Hartzia, and the Baruch made on the entire place of Hartzia and Val Mikrea, and on those who are called to it, on its surroundings. Anan Yaimam, a cloud for the day, Va'ashen, and a smoke, V'noiga, and a light, Eish, Lahava, Laila, and a fire and a flame at night. Ki al kol kavod chuppah, because on every mechuppah there was a chuppah. Malamed shekol echad ve'echad oisel HaKadosh Baruch Hu chuppah lefi chvoidei. In any case, we had 7 different mentions for 7 different kibudim in that pasuk. So that's referring to a chuppah for every person. And the pasuk continues, the Gemara continues, the Baruch Shalom Well, everyone gets the covering according to his stature. What is the mile of having smoke underneath a canopy? It seems uncomfortable. Whoever is stingy with giving. He criticized Talmidei Chacham in Olam Hazeh. Mismalav ein of Ashon Olam Haba. His eyes are going to be filled with smoke. Olam Haba. I guess this is a continuation of what we say. Someone who can't clearly see the milus of a Talmud Chacham. They obfuscate their leadership. Olam Haba, they're going to have a physical manifestation that they're going to be stuck in a cloud of smoke. Also continues the Lama. What is a fire inside of a canopy? It's coming to tell you it's going to be burnt with the fire of jealousy. And this is not such a bad thing. This is talking about Kinesoifrim. He's going to say every yid when he's going to see someone has a nicer chuppah than him. We said everyone gets a chuppah kafi is covered, kafi what he's accomplished. So everyone's going to be burnt up with jealousy, looking at someone else who has something better. It's interesting. I remember saying in the Ramchal, he says that that there's different reasons, different things that motivate a person to learn in this world, to do mitzvahs. And one of the things he says, one of the levels, it always struck me, is someone who's motivated by the fear that he's going to be in Olam Haba and he's not going to have as nice a place as someone else. So I see this came from a Gemara. You find a similar thing when the Moshe says that he's going to give Haidcha from his glory to Yeshua. But not all of the glories. The face of Moshe was like the sun, but Yeshua was like the moon. And we say about it that it's such a terrible travesty that Yeshua was not at the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeshua was clearly, one of the all-time big tzaddikim. But even so, it's still a busha and a chlima that he didn't reach the heights of Moshe Rabbeinu. Amr Bichama Bar Chanina. Eser chupas asa Kadosh Baruch Hu la'adam harishon began Eden. Kadosh made 10 canopies for Adam harishon. Shneimar be'Eden gan halikim in Gan Eden. He used to kol even yikra. There was all kinds of precious stones, and the pasuk continues. Where's that pasuk? Be'Eden gan halikim hoise kol even yikra misuchasecha. Oiden pitta v'yalam tasha shoyim v'yashpa sapir neipach ubarakas v'zav. The pasuk continues. It lists 10 different. 10 different stones, and then it ends malachas tupecha, a malacha of a drum, which is something with a open area inside of it. And he made a hole in it. I established it on the day it was created. Zaktiv Gemara. It wasn't 10, it was 11. Shneimar kol even yikra. The first part of the pasuk when it says all precious stones, that's an 11th stone, 11th chuppah. Amar of Yechanan, v'grua shebakulan zav, the chashav le'lubsaif. Gold was the least valuable of all them because it's listed last. My maleches tupecha v'nikvecha bach. What is it that it ends off by saying that it was made like a drum with an opening on the inside, and he made a hole in it? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Amar L'Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Chiram Melech Tzur. Hashem said to Chiram Melech Tzur, who was very wealthy, B'chad Estakalti, I looked at you, Baras, and he was very arrogant. Barasi Nikavim Ba'adam. Like we say in Asher Yotzei, the Bereshel made a person with the need to go to the bathroom to keep him in check, to keep his arrogance in check, because he looked at someone who's later going to be so arrogant. I guess he could have looked at Pare also, right? Pare was also thought he was a a god, and he used to hide the fact that he had to go to the bathroom. This is what he said. I looked at you at Chiram, the Kanasti Misa al Adam Rishon. I had to make Misa so you wouldn't think of yourself as divine. We're going back to what we said before, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to make a Beis Hamikdash, and he says about Al Mikra, and those who are called to it. Amar Rabbi Yechanan, like Yerushalayim shel Olam Hazeh, Yerushalayim shel Olam Haba. Yerushalayim in Olam Haba is going to be different than now. Sham shel Olam Hazeh kol reitz alal is Olam. Whoever can pay for a ticket can go. Shel Olam Haba in Olam Hazumanla has to be in Mikra. You're only going to be able to come if the Rebbeinu Shalom, if you're properly invited. We find that tzaddikim are called the shame of that Kadosh Baruch Hu. All those that are called in my name and for my covered, I created them, I formed them, and I made them. There are three that are called specifically on the shame of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I mean, we just said, Kala Nikr B'Shmi L'Chvaydi, that we said in the Asid that they're going to be called Al Shem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whether those three that are currently called B'Shem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Elohim, Tzadikim are called Mashiach V'Yishalayim, Tzadikim Hadamarin, like we just said, that's Tzadikim Lasud Lava. Mashiach Tosiv V'Zeh Shemoi Asher Yikru Hashem Tzidkenu, that this is his name. He's going to be called Hashem Tzidkenu. Yishalayim D'Chsev Saviv Shmoina Eser Elef. There are 1,800 Amos. V'Shem Ha'ir Miyoyim Hashem Shama. And the shame of the year is that Miyoyim Hashem Shama, that Hashem is there. Al Tikri Shama, don't say that Hashem is there. El Shema, that is his name. Amar Rebbe Lazar, Asidin Tzadikim she'oimrim l'fneim Kadosh k'derech she'oimrim l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Someday we're going to call in front of the Tzadikim Kadosh the same way like we say by the Rebbeinu Shalom. Shenemar v'ahi hanisher b'tzion v'hanosi b'Yushalayim Kadosh. Those that are left in Yerushalayim and in Tzion, they're going to be called Kadosh. Kadosh Yoimeloi. We'll say Kadosh to them. Amar Rabba Amar Rabbi Yechon. Asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'agbias Yerushalayim gimel parsois l'maylo. Yerushalayim is pretty high up now on a mountain, but it's going to go even higher. It's going to be 3 parsos high. Shenamar v'rama v'yashva tachtea. It's going to be picked up and it's going to sit underneath it. My tachtea. What does it mean? Tachtea underneath it. Kit tachtea, like what's underneath it. Meaning that the height of Yerushalayim is going to be like the square yardage of the actual city. That means if Yerushalayim is 1,000 amas square feet, that's how high over the ground it's going to be. How do we know that Yerushalayim is taka 3 parsoim? Havia Amarabba Amarli Hahu Saba. There was this elderly yid. I saw the original Yerushalayim. Utlosa parsa havi, and it was 3 parsois. And if you'll think, oh, it's going to be so high, it's going to be hard to get up there. By the time you get up there, you're going to be exhausted. Who's going to come up that's going to be tired? Tufina, cave Tufina, they're going to float like the Ka'af Tufina, they're going to float like the clouds. And like the doves to their coops, to their nests. So the Gemara is saying that you're going to float up there the same way a cloud floats without any effort, and like birds fly up without any effort. Amar Papa Shmamina Hai Iva plus a parsa midli. You see from here, from this pasuk, that the height of clouds is 3 parsos, and that's where Yerushalayim is going to be. Amar Chanin about Papa. Because Baruch Hu lost Yerushalayim b'mida. The Rebbe wanted to measure the size of Yerushalayim. Shenema v'ayma ana. This is who is this? Yes. Zechariah. Zechariah says, he saw a malach going, and he asked that malach, where are you going? He said, I'm going to measure Yerushalayim to see its width and length. Amru Malach Yeshoris L'nei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malach Yeshoris asked Rebbe Shalom, Harbe Krachim Baracha, Ba'Elamecha Shal Umas Ha'olam. There are many large cities in the Umas Ha'olam, L'Nesata Midas Archon and Midas Rachman, and you didn't limit them. Yushalayim Shem Moshe Sheshimcha B'Seicha. Like we said, Yushalayim is called on your name. Mudashecha B'Seicha, and you're based on Mikdash in it. Tzadikim B'Seicha, and that's Tzadikim. Meaning, it sounds almost like it's saying we're mentioning the things that we said are called b'shem Hashem. The Rebbe Shalom, of course, is not limited. There's no limits. He's infinite. So you're going to give it a measure. Miyad v'yom elav roitz davar lanar halos lemer positive teshav Yushalayim meirad davar mevhema b'seicha. So Yushalayim should be. He said, tell this malach that was going to measure it. It should be like the Ari HaProzos, like the rural towns that have no midas, they have no walls, from the amount of people and animals in it. Amr Shlakish, Azar Geshbochel Haisal Yishalayim Elef Tafaf Ginois. Yishalayim is going to have 1,000. Tafaf is just the gematria. Tafaf is tes, pei, and fei is 169. Ginois, gardens. And Elef Kafel Migdalim, and 1,000 times Kefel Kuf Pei Lamed Migdalim, towers. And Elef Litzvi Len Lamed Yud Tzadi Vav Yud Bernios, different types of castles. Elef Ushne Visheni, 1,002 Shin Yud Lamed Hey Tutfarois, different types of fortifications. And each one of these different, what do you call them, aspects or different features that Yushalayim had, each one of them was the size of the large city of Tzipori when it was bustling, when it was peaceful. Tanya Amar Rabbi, it's any reason Tzipori b'Shalvasa. I saw the city of Tzipori when it was at peace. And it had in it 1,180 or 180,000 peddlers selling meat that was coming out of a pot. It means that's how many just peddlers you had selling meat in the streets. You can imagine the size of that, and there were obviously thousands and thousands we mentioned of different fortifications and features that were all this size. The pasuk continues. We had this pasuk before when we were talking about the rooms, the indentations in the walls of the Beis Hamikdash that were put one on top of each other. Can't remember exactly. I think it had something to do with Tumah when we were talking about it. But in any case, there were these rooms. There were 33 of these rooms. My shalosh shloisha. What is it? 33 times. Amar of Levi, Amar of Papi. We should be sure. Desakni. In Gimel Yushalayim Haim, if Yushalayim lost love is going to be 3 times the size of what it is now. Kol achas v'achas yesh ba shloisha madurim l'mayla. There's going to be 30 stories on top of Yushalayim. That's 3 times its size. So it's going to be essentially 90 times the size of now. If Shloishim Yushalayim Haim, but if Yushalayim is 30 times its current size, it's just going to have 3 stories on top. Back to Bava Basra. Finished with the stories of Rabbi Barchana and the Lev Yassim and the Beis Hamikdash and Yushalayim. Itma. Svina. Rav Amar Kivin Shemashach Kol Shehu Kana. A ship, since it's moved a little bit, you kind of a ship is metaltal and it's not karka, so it's kani b'meshicha, right? We know that karka is nikna b'kasef b'shtar b'chazaka, and metaltal on niknin b'meshicha and b'mesira. So when you kind of a ship, you kind of once you move it a little bit, that's kind of even any amount. Ushmul amaloi kana achiyim shechas kula. Shmuel says it's not enough to move it a little bit; it has to move the entire length of the ship. Let's say this is machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. Machlokes tanoim. Ketzad b'mesira. How are you kind of b'mesira? You kind of a large animal is nicknamed b'mesira and a small animal is b'meshicha. So how are you kind of b'mesira? Achsa b'tilfa. You grab an animal by its the talfa is its leg, the syro with its hair, the ukuf shaleh with its saddle, the shlif shaleh, I think that means with its bags, the prumba shebapia by its bit in its mouth, the jugsa betzara by the bell around its neck, kana. As long as you grabbed it, that's a masira. You have the reins now. You're kind of. So, but that's not really relevant. We were talking about Mashicha. This is talking about Masira. But now we're going to get to Mashicha. Ketzad b'Mashicha. How are you kind of b'Mashicha? Okay, I should really preface. Masira is handing over the reins. Mashicha is that you cause the animal to move in some way. So Ketzad b'Mashicha, that's the way you kind of a small animal. If you call it and it comes, that's considered you moved it. Or you hit it with a stick and it moved. As long as the animal moved its foot and its hand, meaning the animal has two sets, right? It has the forelegs and the back legs. So calling the forelegs the hands. So as long as it moved one front leg and one back leg, you kind of, even though the animal didn't really go anywhere, as soon as they picked it up, that's considered Mashicha. They say, no, it's not enough for just to pick up one foreleg and one hind leg. It has to actually move its full length. So let's say it's the same machlekes. We said the ship, one man the Amma said, Rav said, you have to move it a mashu, and Shmuel said you have to move it its full length. We're saying the same thing for Mashicha. We're saying the same thing legabi an animal. The same machlekes. The Tanakama says you have to move the animal a mashu as long as it picks up its legs, and Rav Acha says you have to move the entire animal its full length. So Gemara, Amalach Rav, Anodam Rafilu Rav Acha. Rav says no. I hold what I'm saying is true that the ship can be kind of with a mashu. That's even according to Rav Acha. It says an animal has to be fully moved. Ad kan lekam Rav Acha ela bebali chayim. That's only by an animal. The avagav the akra yad v'rogel beduch kaim. Even though it picked up its foot, its foreleg and its hind leg, it's still standing in the same place. It hasn't moved anywhere. Once the ship starts moving, it's moved. It's not in its original place. You say, let's say that a ship has to move its whole length. I would agree that an animal, as soon as it opens as soon as it moves a little bit, the Tanakama says, it's still kani with Mashicha. Once an animal starts moving its feet, it's going to move. It's not. That's the beginning of the process of it moving. But a svina could start, go a little bit, and then stop. There's no necessary follow through. So therefore, the two machlokes are not dependent on one another. Okay, we'll stop over here. So we'll continue tomorrow at 6:30 in Shul.
Wonderful, Lord.
Thank you. Heads up, because I don't want to forget that Be'ez Hashem,